You are watching a special edition of In the Loop live from Omaha. That, by the way, is a live shot of what's going on at the CenturyLink Center, where thousands of Berkshire Hathaway shareholders will be gathered tomorrow morning to hear Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger speak. Good morning, everyone. I'm Betty Lou. Now, we're going to bring you the jobs report in just a few moments, but first, here's a look at our Bloomberg top stories. AIG is higher in the pre-market after the insurance giant reported first quarter profit that beat Wall Street estimates. AIG CEO Bob Ben-Moshe will join me in the next hour on In the Loop, so make sure to tune in for that. A different story at LinkedIn. The online professional networking site giant is falling sharply in the pre-market after forecasting sales that trailed analyst forecasts. Those numbers raising concerns that mobile ad revenue will not grow as fast as anticipated. And Ford is turning up the heat on its Japanese rival Toyota in the hybrid vehicle market. It is set to pass full-year record sales for hybrids as soon as this month. Well, we are all our eyes are on the jobs numbers. And I want to send it back to Adam Johnson at Bloomberg headquarters, who, of course, is counting down to the jobs report. Adam?
We certainly are, Betty. We are standing by for that big monthly jobs report. Nariman Baravish, chief economist at IHS, will break down the data for us. Senior markets correspondent Julie Hyman.
A better jobs number than expected. A better jobs number, 165,000 jobs added in April, beats expectations. The unemployment rate drops to 7.5%. This number is even better when you factor in revisions, 114,000 additional jobs in the prior 2 months. Let me walk you through the non-farm payroll numbers. Again, 165,000 in April, better than our survey estimate of 140,000. February revised to a whopping 332,000 jobs. That is the best non-census jobs month since November of 2005. March also revised upward. The final number there, 138,000. We have the household survey. Again, unemployment dropping to 7.5%. That's the lowest since December 2008. Why did it drop? The labor force rose 210,000, but the number of unemployed rose by even more, up 293,000. The participation rate holding at 63.3. One note for Ben Bernanke, the number of unemployed for 27 weeks or more dropping 2.2%, down 258,000. Who was hiring last month? Professional and business services up 73,000. Leisure up 43,000. They've gained now 320,000 in that sector for the year to date. Temporary hiring up 31,000 in April. Who was losing jobs last month? The government sector down 11,000. The federal government accounting for 8,000 of that. Perhaps again the sequestration impact starting to kick in. Information down 9,000. Construction down 6,000 in the month of April. Average hourly earnings basically in line with expectations, up month over month 0.2, up year over year 1.9%. The weekly hours down to 34.4 from 34.6. Some people might not be thrilled with that notion. And again, the report here, the headline number, 165,000 non-farm payroll, unemployment dropping to 7.5%. And this report coming out even though the Labor Department is closed, a fire on the 4th floor keeping workers away, but this lockup still happened.
All right, Peter, with the whole slew of numbers and obviously much better than expected, which is why markets are responding. Julie Hyman, let's get the exact numbers from you right now.
Well, we're seeing nearly a doubling in the terms of percentage gains in the futures here this morning, and people keying in on not just the headline number, not just that revision number, but also what you heard Peter talking about in terms of the long-term unemployed, that number seems to be pulling back. That's a number a lot of economists have been watching as well. So here are the overall numbers where we're now seeing 0.5% gains or more across the board in terms of the futures. Let's take a look at the intraday, and you can see the drama of the reaction here that we had in the futures, where really just a straight shot up when these numbers came out, because really if you looked at the expectations ahead of this, they were sort of all over the map in terms of, yes, you had the average of 140,000, but there was optimism and pessimism in terms of the chatter, if you will, going into this report. So again, here seeing this very positive reaction that we're looking at. Just a quick look at treasuries as well, if we could. Let's take a look at the 10-year and what we saw intraday. Again, here we saw the yield shooting up after these numbers coming out. Now, Adam, as you very well know, as the day unfolds, we can see a myriad of other types of reactions, but this is the initial first blush reaction we're getting to these numbers.
Well, indeed, as you and I were discussing earlier, Julie, the team over at Bespoke Research has crunched the numbers, and typically when you get a number that's better but not exceptionally better, you have a move of about 0.5%. That's where we are, and that move stays with us throughout the day. So, Mike McKee, you heard Peter go through the numbers. Let me get your interpretation. Give us a little bit of a perspective here.
Yeah, I've been running through this, and this is a good report, and it's better than good because, and I'll tell you why, because expectations were so low. We were worried, and the whisper number on Wall Street was for a lower than consensus print. And not only do we get a higher than consensus print, but we get 114,000 extra jobs found over the prior 2 months. So the net hiring, 279 for the month. That does show that there is still momentum in the labor market, and we are not seeing the spring slump that we thought we saw. This 165 for this month could get revised higher as well. As for the unemployment rate, the key number here is the number of people who say they're unemployed very low, just 80-some-odd thousand. We saw that in the jobless claims numbers. They've been going down, down, down. Fewer people separating is going to keep that number going down. This is a more quality gain in the unemployment rate than we had seen in the past, where it was a function of the labor force. We also saw a return of service sector jobs. That's important. Retail jobs growing strongly on the month. Given the month, we may have had in the past 2 months some seasonal adjustment problems with the Easter holiday. And then you saw construction jobs a disappointment, down 6,000. That's probably seasonal adjustment. Talking with Jim Glassman at J.P. Morgan this morning, he thinks we'll get up to 50,000 construction jobs a month, perhaps by the summer as the season really gets underway. Finally, government jobs. Here's a wild card. Down 11,000, yes, but is it going to be worse? The furloughs and sequester-related hits just started happening towards the end of the month, maybe missed the payroll survey period. We'll have to see what the effect is in May. That's the wild card going forward. But for right now, overall, a generally good report.
Yeah, generally good report indeed. All right, there's the whole team. Mike, Peter, and Julie staying with us. Meanwhile, Nariman Baravesh, chief economist at IHS, you expected 155,000 jobs, very close to the actual number that we got. What was it that brought you to that particular number, 155,000?
Well, all the trends, including things like unemployment claims and so forth, were pointing to a pretty decent, not great, but decent jobs report. So, from that perspective, just all the stars were aligned to get a number that was over 150,000, and indeed it came in at 165, as you said. So this was a very, very good report. I mean, again, we always hope that it's better, but I just did a quick calculation. If you average the last 3 months, it's $211,000 jobs a month, and that's a decent number. It's better than decent number. It's starting to look pretty good all of a sudden. So it sure looks like so far the economy's shrugging off, the private economy shrugging off the sequester.
Yeah, it certainly does. And by the way, what do you make of that revision, a very large revision of about 50,000 jobs up to 138,000 from the previous month, originally about 88,000?
Well, we said all along that 88 was a fluke, that there were some problems, seasonal problems, weather-related problems, and so we really didn't believe it. We said this early on. So sure enough, they revised it. Big revision, as you say. So it doesn't come as a big surprise to us. That's why we kind of discounted that number and went with this number of 150. We said 155. It came in at 165. So we're not at all surprised.
Of course, the next phase now in terms of markets will be traders trying to figure out what the Fed is going to do in reaction to this. And, of course, the Fed coming out this week and saying, you know what, we're poised to accommodate or pull back on accommodation given what the data shows us. Nariman, what does this data show to the Fed in terms of what it should do next?
Well, I think they're going to wait a little bit longer and see what the next few months produce in terms of jobs growth. Clearly, they're still worried about the headwinds being created by the sequester, the fact that, as you were saying earlier, jobs growth could slow a little bit in the coming months. So they're not going to do anything precipitous in the next month or two. Wait to see how much softness there might be in the economy. So they'll wait. They'll wait a few more rounds before they make any kind of pronouncements or any kind of decision.
Mike McKee.
I want to just put a little perspective on the revisions that we talked about. Nariman was asking sort of where those numbers came from for February and March, and I can provide a little more insight. Leisure and hospitality in February, actually 39,000 was the number. That's one big reason why it jumped to 332,000. Professional and business services revised up to 20,000 for that month. And leisure and hospitality up 21,000 in the month of March. Retail was up 20,000. Leisure and hospitality, a big component of this. Apparently, there are a lot of people getting hired at some of those restaurants, or at least more than we thought, and that's one thing driving it the last couple months, those revisions.
Yeah, and Mike, as you know, these monthly numbers tend to be quite volatile, so you just kind of have to look through them a little bit. And as I said, we were not impressed by that 88,000. We thought that was way too low, and for some of the reasons you mentioned, especially retail. The retail number was particularly strange.
Well, now this all raises the question, Nariman, of where we are in this idea of a springtime swoon again. We did see better than expected hiring, but hours worked dropped by 0.2, and the increase in average hourly earnings is relatively small on a year-over-year basis. So it's almost like we're treading water.
Well, we are in a sense, and I think we do have another spring swoon on our hands. It may not be as bad as some people think, but it's going to be there mostly because of the sequester. So there's a very specific reason for this fourth in a row spring swoon as we're going through. But so it'll be there, but it may not be quite as bad as we thought it might be.
Nariman, why is it that economists, and I'm going to lump you into this group, manage to somehow snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? I mean, we've got a great report, and you're talking about a spring